You're listening to Excellence Above Talent, a podcast where we have the hard conversations about the lives of men and what leads us to achieve greatness and suffer defeat. Hear from other men's journeys as well, as we all learn and grow together to become inspirations to ourselves and those around us. And now your host, Aaron Thomas.
Beautiful people, Aaron Thomas with Excellence Above Talent. We're going to finish up the Is Dating Harder in This Day and Age? It'll just be me, but I'm going to do a different spin because I am just a believer in helping build higher value men in the process of building myself to be a higher value man. And we're going to take a look at some reasons why I feel that men are making dating hard in 2022. And then I'm going to throw some, ideals out there. And y'all tell me what y'all think. I am not a professional, right? I am just a regular dude having a conversation. So if I piss you off or make you angry, or if I come off as, being insincere or ingenuous, reach out to me, let me know, and I'll do some reflecting to see if what you're saying is true or not. So, all right, one of the main issues I feel that we as men are making dating hard in 2022 is laziness. We rest before we get tired. So I know a lot of guys, when they say, when they come home from work, they just say they want to rest. Well, if you have a wife and you have kids, your resting period isn't when you come home from work until you wake up the next morning. Your resting period, you should take time for yourself for sure, but your wife and kids also need you, around and present while in the home. And a lot of times, guys, including myself, we feel like after working, when we come home, everything should be done for us. We put our feet up, we watch shows, we play our game, we hang out until it's time to go to bed, while your spouse and your kids are running around trying to create an atmosphere in your home you need to be involved in. I get it. Going to work could be tiring. It's tiring. But your wife and kids still need you around the house to do, certain things. And I know a lot of times if your wife is asking you to do things that you should be doing, that is a form of laziness. If you know you need to take out the trash, just take out the trash. If you are throwing your clothes on the ground and not putting them in the hamper, just, take the few seconds to throw them in the hamper. Take the few seconds to clean up after yourself. Your wife isn't your maid. She is your spouse. And she's there to take care of you, but you're also there to take care of her. I see it a lot, especially in this generation where because of social media and cell phones, you can just get lazy. You can go home, jump on social media, scroll through, things, find yourself on social media for, 2 or 3 hours, and that's gone. Then if you're a gamer, you want to jump on your game and play for a little bit. And then sometimes, it gets carried away and you're playing, into the wee hours of the night. And that causes friction. I'll tell you that right now, and it does. It causes friction in the relationship. And then guys are always like getting upset, like, oh, she's nagging, or oh, she's doing this, or oh, she's doing that. She's not doing anything but asking you to carry your weight in the relationship. And because you're being lazy and because you don't want to carry your weight, then you're calling her a nagging bee, or that she's crazy for not allowing you to do what you want to do. You try to play like I'm a provider, I'm working hard for this family, I'm bringing in the money card, which is like, that's a punk ass card, because at the end of the day, money does not replace you being physically there for your family, right? And so there's a quote that really resonated with me, and it's, the devil finds work for them who finds none for themselves. And I can tell you a lot of times I would get in trouble because I wasn't doing like the work or finding work to do. If I'm at the house by myself, or if I'm at the house and I'm just chilling, then it's like the pleasure. You're getting like the pleasure of it all, but everyone around you is suffering. And that's just simply not cool, especially if brought these kids into the world, and, dated your wife and you were trying to show her, the type of person that you are. And then now you're becoming this lazy asshole who just doesn't do anything. Another thing that kind of grinds my gear, guys will do everything to get that female, or, his wife or his woman. But then once he gets her, he just stops doing what he's supposed to be doing. To me, that's a form of laziness. You should always continue to work towards, making yourself better for not only yourself, but for your wife and your kids. And the things that you did that made her fall in love with you, you shouldn't stop doing. And because she is human, she's going to change, paying attention to that change that she's going through, and adapting to it. So it takes someone who is not lazy to do things of that nature. Another thing I see that men struggle with is not having purpose. And this quote really has helped me through a lot. And it's, the greatest tragedy is not death, but life without purpose. And so if you're living your life aimlessly, not knowing what it is that you want to accomplish, what it is that you want to do, what do you want to accomplish with your family, what do you want to accomplish with your wife. If you don't have any goals in place, then your life is going to be a struggle. And because your wife and your kids are looking up to you, their lives are going to be a struggle as well. And some men's purpose can be their job, but I feel like a lot of men just get stuck with, because I'm working this job and I'm bringing home the money that helps provide for my wife and kids, that is my purpose. And a lot of men get caught up in like the rat race of life and don't really get to live the life that they really want to live. And then they start taking it out on their wife and their kids. Me personally, I think this is one of the reasons why men become abusive, because they know that they are meant for something bigger and better within themselves. And because they feel stuck, because they don't have, their purpose, or because they don't have any goals set up, they start to blame their wife and kids for the feeling that they have. And instead of going within and trying to fix what's wrong with them, they start to blame their wife and kids for this feeling. And they become abusive or angry or upset because, instead of taking accountability for their actions and taking accountability for how they feel, it's easier to blame someone for that. And so I think purpose is a big issue that men deal with. And the sooner we stop blaming and start trying to find out why we were put on this earth, the better it is for everyone. Another thing is submissiveness. I had a quote or a question on Facebook last week, and I was talking about how women cannot respect men who don't stand up for themselves. And this is my personal belief. As a man, if you don't stand up to your woman, if everything she tells you to do, you do, without asking any questions, without having any confrontations, then at some point she starts to lose respect for you as a man. Because she doesn't feel like you would stand up to her or stand up for her when the time came outside in society. So if you can't stand up to your woman when y'all are, working on yourselves and dealing with issues, then she doesn't believe or think that you would stand up for her when someone is, disrespecting her. I personally think it is true. There are a lot of, I guess you would call them nice guys, guys who would do anything to get that woman. Um, but I don't think those guys are winning because they aren't being true to themselves. If you are submissive, if you are too nice, because I think you can be too nice, you're not being true to yourself as a man. Because there are things that you like, and there are things that you don't like. And if she comes around and everything she asks for, she gets, like there's issues there to me personally. And so being submissive is not a bad thing. Let me just go ahead and clear that up. As a man, being submissive isn't a bad thing because as a Christian, God says that you have to submit to Him and also submit to your wife. But He didn't say do everything that your wife tells you to do. So I see it a lot here in the dating scene where guys are trying to impress a woman, and their thought process of impressing is to do everything and to give her everything that she wants. I just have a feeling that women take advantage of guys who do that. Not because I've also been that guy before. And I also see a lot of those guys out there now uh, with their hearts being broken, sad, trying to figure out why she would play him the way she did. She can't respect someone that won't even stand up for himself. And I'm not saying this like in a negative way, but if there's something you don't want to do, or if there's something that you want to say, or if there's something that you need from her, as a man, you should open up your mouth and say it. And with respect, with love, watch your tone, but find a way to say it to where, she gets an understanding. And if it comes down to a confrontation or if it comes down to a heated conversation, well, then have that heated conversation. Don't run away from it because at the end of the day, you as a man need to stand your ground on certain issues that you feel are needed. You should stand your ground on certain issues that you feel you can't pass up or let go. Another issue I see that's making men seem weaker in the dating scene is low emotional intelligence. So there's a lot of men who cannot control their emotions. And if I'm around you and you can't control your emotions as a man, I think you're weak, man to man. Like, oh, that dude is weak. I can easily get under his skin and make him flustered and make him lose his cool. And as a man, if I'm thinking that, your woman is too. And so if you're running around here with your chest puffed up and you're trying to, be someone that you're not, and something happens or your woman tells you something or says something to you, and you're throwing things, you're punching holes in walls, you're throwing your phone, you're hitting your steering wheel, you are screaming and yelling, your tone is intimidating. If you're doing any of those things over a long period of time, your spouse, the chick that you with, starts to lose respect towards you. Because if you cannot control your own emotions, what the fuck can you control? I mean, just think about it. You are the master of yourself. And if you as a man can't control himself, what can you control in this world? I mean, you really can't control anything besides yourself. And so no one's going to respect a man who can't control himself. People might be afraid or scared. They fear that person because of what they could potentially do as far as physically hurting that person. But when it when it comes down to, do you have respect from your spouse or your kids? Ask yourself the question, can you control yourself? Can you control your emotions? And if the answer is no, then your wife and kids really can't respect you. They fear you, and that's just not the way that you should be living your life. And they should be living their life in this day and age. So check yourself. Whenever you start to feel upset or angry, your body tells you everything you need to know, fellas. Your body tells you when you're about to get angry or upset. You start to get hot. Your leg starts to shake. Your heart starts beating faster. You clench your fist, right? Your ears get hot. So find things to do to relax yourself and calm yourself down before getting to that place where you start to lose respect because you can't control yourself. Another thing that I see that I feel like is creating issues in the dating scene, this is a big one. Big ego, low self-esteem. And these are things that I've all dealt with. I mean, I'm not just talking just to talk. Like I can tell you stories about all these things I've dealt with. And I am going to eventually start a TikTok and, talk about these things, go more in depth and talk about these things and have stories because I just think that, men, we just assume that we're doing a great job and we're simply not doing a great job because no one's, having these conversations or talking about like, hey, maybe try this or hey, maybe do this. We just do one thing and because no one's saying anything about it, then we assume like it's right and it might not be. So big ego, low self-esteem. I have dealt with this. You're posturing. You're faking who you really are because you're afraid of what people would think about you. So you don't allow people close to you. And if they do get close to you, it's the fake version of you, and you don't uh, get to be vulnerable or open. And after a while, that it gets old. And trying to live your life two ways, one of the most difficult things you could ever do. If you're trying to be someone that you're not, and then when you go home, you are the person that you want to be, you're constantly putting and taking off masks, and it gets tiring after a while. And instead of you fixing yourself, you just continue acquiring mask for people to see you in a different light. So I know I had this issue because I tried to buy things. So I compensated with materialistic things. I thought the more things I had, the more prestige people would view me as. And going through a divorce and essentially just, walking away from everything, the house and everything that, was in the house and starting from scratch, I realized that this one was a big issue of mine. I wanted to put off this front that I had my shit together. And in this process, learning that no one has their shit together, and it's better just to be real with yourself and with others than to try to act like you're just like bigger and you're just big person doing great things. And I was a person doing good things, but there was just a lot of damage that I was doing because I didn't want people to see the real Aaron, or I was hiding the real Aaron because I didn't think people would understand him. And I don't think they do. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people think about you as long as you're doing and being the person that God has called you to be. That's just me personally. On the outside, there was, I looked big, charismatic, loud, always had a smile. But on the inside, if I looked up and someone looked at me the wrong way, all these negative things would start popping off in my head. Is there a booger in my nose? Do I smell? Is my nose too big? Do they not like what I'm wearing? Like, is there something in my hair? Like, it would just eat me up, right? But I'm still putting on this front like everything's okay, but mentally, I'm, trying to figure out why this person is looking at me. And this is something that I've realized in this process. You're not as important as you think you are. And that has really helped me move forward quickly. Because at the end of the day, we all have our issues, we all have our shortfalls, and we all have things that we're dealing with. We all have our traumas, and people might know yours because either someone's talking about them or hell, you're talking about them. But at the end of the day, you're not that important to where people are always thinking about you 24/7. When they see you, they might, think about you. But when they leave, when you're not in their face, they're not thinking about, oh, well, he did this, this, and this. Like, they're just simply not. Because life is already hard as it is. And if someone is constantly thinking about you, then they're not living their life. And so, one thing that really helped me in this process of, cutting down this ego that I had was I'm not that important. And what has helped me build up my self-esteem was to be who I was called to be. Because God has made us all to be a certain way. If you are in that purpose and you're walking in your purpose and you're doing what it is that God has called you to do, it builds up your self-esteem. And in building up your self-esteem, you don't need an ego. I don't know a lot of people who have high self-esteems that feels like they need to like have bravado or just kind of fake who they are for people to like them. You have high self-esteem because you know who you are as a person, and you're not looking for those connections from fake people. So you're not that important. I want you to understand that. So check your ego and understand the dudes who are running around here trying to, prove themselves all the damn time have the lowest self-esteem. Guys who are making dating harder in 2022 are the guys who think they're players, the guys who treat women like objects and not human beings. I think one of the main issues is pornography. What you see in porn, it isn't cultivating relationships. It's dominance. I want to dominate you in every way. And then once I dominate you in every way, I'm out, right? So guys who are making dating hard in 2022 are guys who are incapable of loving anyone but themselves. They spend all their time seducing women instead of focusing on their life goals. They have low self-esteem and need validation. And that's the reason why they're chasing after these women, because these women are giving them that fix that they need. And once they get that fix, they start looking for another fix. And then guys who are players or who try to get as many women as possible, they blame people for their problems. And they do that because they don't know themselves. They don't like themselves. I can personally say that the guys who are out there in this world having sex with any chicks that they want aren't happy, because to me, sex is a drug. We don't talk about it like it's a drug sometimes, but sex could be substituted for alcohol or weed, or cutting yourself. So instead of cutting yourself, you go out there and you have sex with as many people as possible. Unprotected, protected, doesn't matter. You're just running from something. You don't want to deal with these issues that need to be faced. And so because they're present and available, you do it. You take those steps. That was one of my biggest issues. I can tell you right now, in any relationship that I have ever been in, and in my marriage, this was one of my Achilles heel. I would say my Achilles heel. I was running from the monster that was me. I didn't want to deal with him. And so I would, run to sex. I'd run to women to get that validation, to, have them make me feel good for that brief moment. And then after it was over with, I still had to deal with like those monsters and those demons that I had. And I can say for a fact that I fucked up my marriage because I was incapable of loving anyone but myself. I thought I could love, but what I gave her wasn't love, but attachment, affection, But when I'm, doing the search within and trying to figure myself out and why I am the way I am, this one was something that really hurt because I never wanted to be like a player or a womanizer. I grew up with, my mom raising me. I had four sisters. I know the problems that they faced and the things that they were going through with men. And hell, I worked at the crisis center, right? And working with a lot of these, strong women and listening to their stories and, watching what they went through. Like I never wanted to be that person. And so I took myself, out of it. Like I'm not that person because I'm doing all these good works and I'm doing all these, these things that are helping the community. But at the end of the day, when I felt, stressed or when I was struggling mentally, I ran towards other women to get that fix. And I ran to them to get that fix. And once I got that fix, I chopped off. Like it wasn't anything that was created. It was just like, I got what I needed now and I'm gone. But the fact is, I said things and did things to make them feel some type of way towards me. And then once they gave me what I wanted, which was sex, I chopped off. And so now I'm thinking like, man, was it fake the whole time? Was it real? And it was fake. It was always fake because I didn't know how to, I guess, express myself in a positive way. So the person that they got was not the real person. It was a version of myself that I felt like they needed to see in order for me to get to have sex with them. And then once I had sex with them, I went back to the my true version or my fake version, I guess, uh, which is kind of difficult to kind of explain. But I don't think I've ever been true to myself majority of my life. So I always ran back to the fake version of myself instead of running to like the real version of myself. And I think now at 35, I'm coming into a realization that this is, this is who I am, and I am enjoying the person that I am becoming. I'm enjoying the person that I see in the mirror. I'm not afraid to look at him. I'm not afraid to wink at him. I'm not afraid to tell him he's doing a good job because the person that I'm looking at is the person that everyone else sees. It's easy now for me to do that versus, back in the day when I looked at that person in the mirror, I didn't know who the fuck that person was. And it was scary. So I didn't say anything to him. We didn't have conversations. He scared me because I didn't like that person. I didn't want to be that person. And I didn't take any steps to try to change that person. I just let him run crazy in my life until one day I had to stop it. And that day came when, my wife wanted a divorce. And I took it hard, but then I, taking a step back and realizing, man, I mean, she put up with a lot more than what she should have. And she should have probably pulled this trigger a long ass time ago because I thought I was a man, but I was a little boy in a man's body flexing on people, thinking that I was, bigger than what I was. And I think that really broke me to the point to where I'm at this place where I do not care what people think about me now. I'm putting my stuff out there. I'm putting my issues out there. You can take those issues and try to weaponize them. You can take those issues and pray for me. But at the end of the day, I know who I am in Christ and I know what He has called me to do or what He is calling me to do. So there's a motivation and an inspiration that I have now that I've never felt in my life. And one thing that I know God has been working with me on is this player womanizer aspect. Something that He is challenging me to do is be celibate for the rest of this year, which is going to be difficult, like hard. But I know that if I'm heeding His word and listening to what it is that He is, wanting me to do, there's a reason why, and I want to obey. And so that's something that I am going to do for the rest of this year. I started it last week. I can confirm I'm 1 week celibate. I might give you week to week update. Well, I will give you week to week updates to keep me accountable for being celibate for the rest of this year. Because I have to find something else to run to. It just can't be other women or sex or porn, because I know that it creates a appetite that can't be filled. I'm always going to want more, and I understand that now, and I'm making choices and decisions to not put myself in situations to where I'm I'm open to it. So another thing that makes dating in 2020 hard because men haven't got their shit together is entitlement. Sometimes men feel like they're entitled to it. And there's just how I grew up was, if I take you out to movies and I take you to dinner, I'm leaving with something. And it's just a negative mindset. Why don't you just take her out to the movies and a dinner because you want to get to know her? And if you don't want to get to know her, then be upfront with what it is that you're looking for. And most guys aren't. We're not upfront. We're going to play the game. We're going to play the game of, opening her door and being this gentleman for her, because we want her to make her, we want her to feel special, because the more special she feels, the more likely she is to open up her legs and give us what we're looking for. And then once she does that, it becomes boring. Like the chase is gone. I already have it now, so I'm going to go get it somewhere else. Guys feel entitled to, just guys feel entitled. There's a selfishness that comes with entitlement, self-centeredness that comes with entitlement, does whatever it takes to win with no accountability, doesn't care whose feelings are hurt, whose lives that are being destroyed. As long as I got that pie, that's all I care about. And it's crazy because I know we've had a conversation, if you've listened to these podcasts, about men thinking like after having sex with a woman over, a short or long period of time, that what she has is his. And he runs around here and he's telling her like, whose pussy is this, and call me daddy, and that's mine. But at the end of the day, it is hers. It will always be hers, and you don't have any entitlement to it at all whatsoever. And I think that gets a lot of guys in trouble too, when they feel like what the woman has is theirs, and when she says no, that infuriates him. And then instead of being respectful and listening, to her, and walking away, or giving her a back rub, or rubbing her feet, because at some point, because she's not feeling it right now, and that's totally fine. But a lot of guys feel entitled to like what it is that she has, that they pout, they slam doors, uh, they when they walk, there you can tell by their walk is aggressive. If they're lying in bed, they're like tapping. They'll get out of bed, go play the game. They'll get out of bed to try to create some space, which then makes her feel the need to accommodate for his needs. And so she gives in, has sex because she doesn't want her man angry or upset, but she doesn't really want to. And that's a level of entitlement that guys feel like they have too. Like, because she's there and she's available, that at any given time you can just roll over and expect it. And the sad part is you don't even do anything to like get her there. You know what I mean? Like you just roll over and it's like, okay, well, I'm there, so you should be there. And it's not, women are different. It's not the case. They have to, mentally, be there, physically, they have to be there before, they're there. But again, porn doesn't teach you that. It just, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, type of deal. So entitlement is a big issue that we face as men. We don't get to just run around and think because we're a man or because we have money that, someone should say or do things for us without putting in the work, right? So if you have been selfish, self-centered, you got to figure out a way to have that conversation with yourself, fellas, because women are picking up on this stuff, and they are starting to play the game, and they're playing the game way better than we could ever play the game, guys. And so there's a lot of guys out there just, getting heartbroken and, being sad and, trying to blame the women for, their heartaches and pain. But we've been playing this game for a long time, and now I think they're tired of it and they're playing the game too, and we don't like it. So now we're trying to shift the blame and try to say, oh, women are this way or women are that way. And I'm like, nah, I don't think it is. We just have to continue working on ourselves as men. We have to continue to not be lazy. We have to find our purpose. We have to have high emotional intelligence. Understand you're going to get angry. Understand what to do with that anger when you do get angry so it doesn't come off as weakness. Because if you're punching holes in walls, if you're driving fast to try to scare someone, if you're throwing things because you can't use your words, again, that makes you weak. You have to be submissive in a good way, but you just can't run around and just do everything that your wife is telling you to do, because then she loses that respect. Put some respect on my name. Check your ego. Your ego is not your amigo. It's not your friend. It never will be. And it's made up. You make up your ego. So however big your ego is, it's because you made that shit up. And if you don't have a big ego, it's because you made that shit up. And then don't be a player. Being a player does nothing for anyone. All sides gets hurt. All sides get hurt, but like there's already one side hurting because they're running and trying to have sex with as many women as possible. And then the women who give it up to this man because she feels that he is special also gets hurt because she's given herself in hopes that this guy can be her Prince Charming, and he's just a regular frog that knows how to play the system, knows how to play the game, and plays it to his fullest. One last thing I want to say for my guys, for my fellas, the way you make love to the world is the way you make love to your woman. That saying is from a book, Ways to a Superior Man. And I love that saying because in this world, if you are taking care of business, if you're not lazy, if you have high emotional intelligence, if you're submissive but in a good way, if you're not a player, if you don't have a big ego, if you have high self-esteem, if you don't feel entitled, then you're doing the work to be the best man that you can possibly be. And because you're doing the work to be the best man that you can possibly be, you're paying attention to your surroundings and to what, the people that need. You're paying attention to your surroundings as well as paying attention to what people need in their lives. And so if you're not walking around here in your purpose and doing the things that you want to do to make your life better, what that saying says is you're not doing what is necessary to fulfill your woman in the bedroom because you can't even do it in real life. So just take that into consideration. When you want to be lazy one day and just chill out and not do anything, and you see everyone around you, busting their ass and cleaning up and, trying to create an atmosphere in the home that is conducive to growth and healing and love and happiness, and you're in your office playing a game, or you're in your office drinking a beer, watching, football or basketball or sports or anything. Just know you had the opportunity to make an effort to show your family that, one, you're not lazy, and two, you care. I think that just goes a long way. So the way you make love to the world is the way you make love to your spouse. So pay attention to the way you make love to the world. Again, this podcast is a podcast where we just want to have deeper conversations. We want to figure out ways to build high value men. We want to figure out ways to create a community where we can get together and talk about tough issues that people normally don't talk about. I think it's just important, especially in this world where everyone's trying to hide behind, social media, and, they're trying to show you a snippet of who they really are. I kind of want to get to the meat and potatoes of things and really get to these core issues that are creating destruction in this world. And I think the things that I talked about today is from a man's perspective, because, again, this podcast is about building high value men. And we can't do that trying to, well, what about the women? Well, yes, they have their issues, but we're not talking about the issues. We're talking about the men issues. So if you like what you heard, share it, comment, give me feedback. I'm trying to learn and grow in this process, and I can take criticism. I enjoy it because it helps me grow. And anything that helps me grow, I'm all about. So again, like it, share it, subscribe to it, send it to your friends, let them hear it, and then give me feedback. Feedback. Hi, y'all have a good day. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And for daily, motivational, and up-to-date content, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Excellence Above Talent. And remember, keep moving forward, never give up, and you are never alone in this battle. We'll see you next time.